Let's control the conversation. Today I want to talk about how to stay composed and persuasive even when the toughest clients or stakeholders are on the line. Let's be honest. Some conversations feel like a combat sports event. You walk in prepped, polished, and positive, only to be met with the verbal equivalent of a brick wall, right? A tough client, a skeptical stakeholder, or that one person in your life who clearly studied the Jedi Academy of difficult dialogue. So, how do you stay cool, confident, and most importantly, in control? The great news here is there's a science, of course, and an art to mastering those moments. So why is staying composed? Why does that work? And why do most people avoid this, or they don't seem very composed? Research shows that when we get flustered in high stakes conversations, our brain goes into fight, flight, or freeze mode. Literally. Do you agree? How many times have you been there? I am there more times than I'd like to admit, but I've had to put strategies around that when I recognize it's happening. And what happens is this cortisol spikes, the amygdala lights up in your brain, and our ability to process logic, it plummets by 40% according to Harvard Business Review. That is scary, right? Because there's just garbage coming out of our mouth most of the time because we're not thinking rationally, clearly. We are clearly not calm, so the other person doesn't feel heard, so you're not getting anywhere. But now imagine trying to negotiate a deal, pitch an idea that's very important to you, or resolve a conflict with someone that you love with 40% less brain power. Not good, right? Staying composed isn't just about being calm. It's your competitive edge. And according to a Stanford study on leadership, influence, and leadership, leaders who maintain emotional control, they're rated 31% more persuasive than those who don't, regardless of what they're saying. It's a perception. So let's dig into a persuasion formula that actually works. Here's your 3-part toolkit for persuasion, even when the other person is being a little extra. Number 1 is validate and then pivot. So people want to feel heard before they'll hear you. Listening skills are key, and the best path forward is to stop talking, to listen what they have to say genuinely. Not thinking about what you're going to say next, but genuinely pausing, breathing, listening to what they're saying. You can use phrases like, I can see why this is important to you. When you use empathy, it equates to credibility. So try to step in their shoes a little bit with your responses. And then gently pivot. Say something like, and here's another way to look at it. So why does this work? Emotional validation, it activates the prefrontal cortex. It makes the other person more open to new ideas and a little less combative because they feel like you are hearing them. And because you have taken the time to actually shut up and listen up, they also feel heard and feel you are understanding and you're empathetic towards their situation. So how many times, maybe you're not having the greatest conversation or you don't have the greatest news to tell someone, but when they stop and really listen, look in your eyes, make great eye contact, you feel so much more calmer to give the bad news or to have this discussion rather than being so fired up, right? It actually helps you think as well. So another tip is tip number 2, slow your pace, not your power. So when tensions rise, you set the rhythm. I know this is a tough one, especially when your emotions are high, but it's important to pause, breathe, reflect, take a few seconds to breathe into calm. Talk 10 to 20% slower than you normally would and use deliberate pauses. I know at first it will sound very strange, but why does this work? A slower pace increases perceived confidence and leadership authority by up to 38%, according to the University of Michigan. So it also conveys that you are being thoughtful. You are thinking through what is being discussed. And a bonus here, it also buys you some time to think too, right? To calm yourself if needed and to come up with the right words and especially the right tone. Sometimes it's not exactly the words that we use, but it's the tone and it's the body language that can make or break it for us, isn't it? Tip number 3 is ask the golden question. When someone's stuck in opposition mode, ask, what would need to be true for you to be open to this, whatever it is? Why it works is this question reframes resistance into possibility, right? It shifts the conversation from why it won't work to how it could, and often disarms even the toughest opponents, believe it or not. So you don't need to win every single battle. It's not about winning. It's about coming to some common ground. And the goal isn't to dominate and win, it's to guide the conversation with clarity and composure, even if the other person is all steam and no brakes. So as leadership coach Michael Bungay Stanier says, say less, ask more. Your power lies in your presence, not in the push. So the next time that you're facing a high stakes meeting or a stonewall stakeholder, remember, cool heads close deals, composed voices get heard, strategic questions shift conversations. You got this. So do you have a tough conversation win or a disaster turn to triumph to share? Let us know in the comments. Would love to hear your story. So if you found this content valuable, please consider sharing, please consider subscribing. Thank you all for joining me here today, and we will see you next time.